Oh, hi. Welcome to another episode of Howdy Partner. We're here on AWS On Air, and this is the show all about APN partners. So each episode, we meet with a new partner and we learn more about what they do and when to utilize their solution for working with AWS. And today we're here with new friends from Apptio, Jeremy and Eugene. I'm A.M. Grabelny. I'm a dev advocate here at AWS. You might have seen me on Twitch at some point doing this show. And I'm joined by a wonderful co-host here, Braden. Braden, you want to introduce yourself, and then we'll kick over to Jeremy and Eugene.
Sure thing. My name is Braden Carante. I'm a partner solutions architect. You may have also seen me on other episodes of Howdy Partner. And I'm glad to be here, and I'm especially glad to have Jeremy and Eugene join us today.
Cool. And you're going to be asking them some questions alongside me.
Right.
We're going to learn all there is to know about Apptio, I think, today, right? Is that right, Jeremy and Eugene? Jeremy, let's start with you. What do you think?
I think so. Hi, I'm Jeremy Young, VP of Engineering at Apptio, and I'm really excited to be on the show today.
And Eugene.
Yeah, and I hope so. Hi, everybody. My name is Eugene Kovastov, VP of Product and Engineering here at Apptio, and really excited to be on with you guys today.
Okay, cool. So who is the lucky person who's going to give us a rundown of what Apptio is and why, as an AWS developer, I should care about Apptio?
Well, we drew straws, and I'm the lucky one. So, so for those that don't know, Apptio as a whole provides products and solutions for folks to manage their technology spend and really optimize that spend, to understand where your resources are going from your headcount, your infrastructure, your software, and everything in between that you need to run the technology part of your business. But we also provide cloud-specific tools, cloud cost management products such as Apptio Cloudability, which is where we provide the ability for not just financial folks, but also developers to come together and do the right thing in terms of making their dollar go as far as possible on the cloud, and therefore really allow themselves to focus on the core areas of their business, the products they're building, rather than the business of managing the cloud resources, how much they're costing you, where you can save money, which resources you should be using, and things of that nature. So it's an exciting space that we're in, and really excited to talk more about it with you here today.
Yeah, so this is everyone's favorite topic, right? Money, and how to spend less of it. I think that actually impacts every single aspect of the business and every single person in it. So yeah, I mean, we've heard a lot from various leaders at AWS about how easy it is to come in and start building and spin things up on the cloud. What's not so easy is to rein that in once you actually are starting to get AWS bills, right? So maybe give a rundown for us. You know, if I were to go, sign up for Apptio today, what's one of the first things that I could do in terms of financial accountability in running things in the cloud?
Yeah, well, I'll start, and then maybe Jeremy can dovetail on from the engineering side. But with Cloudability especially, you get immediate value. What you can do is jump in. We have trial opportunities for you as well, so it's free to try. And with a couple of quick connections and permissions that you provide us to read your AWS billing files, you immediately get things like some canned reports and dashboards that we populate for you based on your historical data. You get some recommendations on where you can save money, either through commitment-based optimization. So AWS offers, of course, reservations, reserve instances, and savings plans opportunities, as well as resource-based optimizations. Where are you maybe over-provisioned in your EC2 instances? Where do you have some idle EBS volumes? Where you're provisioning your RDS instances, so on and so forth. And then the beauty comes in working with your partners to then execute on those recommendations. That's what Jeremy and team have looked at it internally on our side, and our partners and customers do so for their own environments.
Especially with all the new services being launched and constant innovation, one of the things that you need to answer is, how do I pay for these services? Which ones can I use? How much is it going to cost me? And can I spin up these new resources? Can I try these new things that are coming out? And this is Cloudability really does help you answer that in partnership with your finance team and other engineering teams to answer like, what can I optimize? What can I save on? And then really, how can I reinvest that into new development opportunities?
That sounds great. And actually, let's drill into that a little bit. So how can Apptio help developers with managing and optimizing their containerized workloads in the cloud?
Well, we actually have quite a bit of that running ourselves. I think Jeremy could give you some details on both how we do it ourselves and then also how using our own tools like Cloudability, and then how some of our customers do as well.
Yeah, so we were super excited to see the announcements around EKS and ECS as well. We run a lot of our workloads in containers, greater than 40+% of them currently. We've actually been in the process of migrating to containers over the course of the year from on-premise to AWS, and so this is a really relevant thing for us as well. And one of the things that we're trying to get insight into is as I spin up these container resources, what products are costing the most money to run? Who should I attribute this spend to? Cloudability has container cost management capabilities that allow you to apportion the spend within your Kubernetes clusters to various stakeholders, to various departments, to various engineering teams. You can figure out which team is using these resources, how well are they utilized, and that's the level of transparency that you get there. Really just helps you justify that spend. It helps you prove to your teams that they're getting good value out of the services that they're using.
Totally makes sense to me. Now, I've heard a little bit about Cloudability Shift. Can you tell us what that is and more about it? And also, what's exciting about Cloudability Shift? Why have I heard of it? I feel like something very exciting.
So as the name implies, Cloudability Shift is helping you understand how you shift workloads to cloud. And this is a journey that Apptio has gone on throughout the year with moving workloads to AWS, as I mentioned. And one of the things you need to understand is, what is that going to cost? And not just at a single point in time. I know you can use various tools to give you like, what is EC2 going to cost you, but how do I understand a plan for how that spend ramps up over the course of 1 year or 3 years? And especially, as you decide, and plan out these investments, you want to look at how I factor in reserve instances or savings plans. How do I factor in enterprise discount programs and other discounting mechanisms into that plan so I get an accurate picture of what my cloud spend will cost 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and so that I can build that plan with my finance team and get approvals to move forward of doing so. I think that's one of the big hurdles, is that I can get a snapshot of what the cloud is going to cost, but I need to build a meaningful plan and have that be something that I execute on over time. And then as I migrate to the cloud, I need to be able to track that spending, and that's where we have that end-to-end life cycle in Cloudability Shift, helping you move those workloads to the cloud, and then Cloudability and helping to monitor and manage that spend over time.
Great. And actually, kind of on that point, you're talking about justifying spend, bringing snapshots to the finance team. How does Cloudability surface the right insights to different audiences like the finance team, developers, or IT leaders?
Yeah, I can take that one. When you say the right instances, really for us about both understanding the customer's environment, and we do that by learning about it. We run some machine learning algorithms in the background, identify which instances are most suited for optimization, and actually provide you options. So that's one of the key things that we look for. We recognize that no matter how much we do and how advanced we get, we're never going to know your environment as well as you do. So what we provide are several options with each recommendation, each right-sizing recommendation that seeks to trade off that level of risk and benefit. Risk being, how aggressive do you want to get in downsizing relative to how much money or opportunity there is to save. But the other side of that coin is really being able to bring together the developers and the finance teams so that there's a common language and that there's an easy automated process by which to evaluate those. And just recently, we announced our partnership with Atlassian, where we have an integration directly with Jira software, Jira Service Desk, Jira Service Management, whichever one you use, either or both, where you can automatically populate the Jira project, for example, with the recommendations that are relevant to you and your teams. And this can be done directly through the Cloudability console, or actually by setting policies. So you can automatically receive those recommendations that are, of course, relevant to you, but also worthwhile to you. You can say, hey, I don't actually want to see a right sizing or termination recommendation unless I'm going to save more than $10,000, right? Anything below that really isn't worthwhile for me. And that really helps to get the right recommendations from the right people. And it doesn't mean that you're going to execute on all of them, right? There may be reasons that you have additional headroom, but it does help you become more efficient in evaluating those recommendations and executing on the ones that are actually beneficial.
You've mentioned a lot, some various things that immediately save people money, over provisioning, oversizing instances. These are things that, we definitely see all the time too. I'm just curious, you may not have the data right in front of you, but just anecdotally speaking, what's some of the things that you see, across all the customers that you've worked with that they're not doing right, that they should, all go and take a look at their environment and, could save them some money today if they were to go make these simple changes?
Yeah, well, the one that immediately jumps to mind is looking at those resources, the ones you mentioned that are over-provisioned, underutilized, and idle. To your point earlier, in terms of immediate value, typically we'll see at least 15, sometimes upwards of 20 to 30% of savings available immediately when we first enable a customer based on their historical data. But that one's a bit of a layup, right? That's an easy one you gave me. But what do we see in terms of best practice for customers to not only identify savings opportunities, but also keep a clean and tidy environment, free of cruft on the billing data side is really around identifying your resources, tagging them correctly. And oftentimes we find that maybe you haven't been doing so in the past, and it's really hard to, if not impossible, to go back in time with anything that's kind of available out of the box, whereas Cloudability does allow you to do that. You can actually create what we call business mappings, conditional logic that will allow you to actually go back and re-tag those resources, and then also apply those tag mappings going forward, of course. And that way you get a nice clean view of what resources belong to what environment, or what project team, or what product team, or what release train, or any and all of the above. So that's one where we like to help our customers along, but also they tend to find it pretty quickly and pretty easily. It's also available via API, so folks really love that.
I was also going to add to Eugene's point, like one of the key things there is this concept of views that you can create. And one of the things that has really helped me with my engineer teams is you need to drive accountability, right? You need teams to understand what their spend is and be able to create views that are specific to them, and roll up their spend and show their individual or specific team opportunities. That's meaningful because they can take action, right? Like I think it's really hard at an abstract level. You see all these savings, but you need someone to do that work, right? You need someone to either spin down the instances or consolidate instance families so you can buy RIs or savings plans. But at the end of the day, a developer is going to get involved in making that decision, and unless they can see that data, they're not able to make that data-driven decision. This really helps them do that at that individual accountability level.
And just to follow up on that, I actually, and I'm blanking on the name of the author right now, but there's an O'Reilly book that I've really enjoyed. I haven't finished it yet, but been reading. Essentially, the name of it is FinOps, right? Which it's writing on these like DevOps, DevSecOps type amalgamations of essentially everybody's job is finance, right? Like everybody should be caring about finance, just like everybody should be caring about ops in these new teams and new companies, and how we're building software in today's world. Is that what you all see when you have conversations with your customers? Are you seeing more people paying attention to finance across the board, not just the accounting team, but even in the IT teams as well?
Yeah, definitely. I think that as cloud becomes a larger share of a budget, either an entire corporate budget or the technology budget itself, you start to get more eyeballs on it, right? You start to have more people who want to understand, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. And like you said, everybody should be interested and everybody should be good stewards of the business because that's in everybody's best interest in the company. The trick is, how do you make that easy, right? You can do things the hard way, or you can seek to simplify, automate, and make things translatable, understandable, right? Finance is not going to speak the same language that DevOps is, and is not going to speak the same language as some of the business is, right? So how do you translate that? So that's what we really seek to do. The FinOps Foundation is a great way to learn more about that. Apptio Cloudability is a founding member there, but it's also bigger than just the cloud financial management, right? You want to look holistically at your cloud costs and the infrastructure and platform side, as well as on the SaaS side. So you want to know what you're spending on Chef or Jenkins or any other SaaS delivered products to run your cloud infrastructure. And that's where you start seeing folks really get value. And that's where you start seeing more eyeballs, right? It starts coming together as a bigger picture. Jeremy can paint a better picture to our finance team now today, because he can say, hey, here's what we spend holistically on running these products. Here's what it cost me to do it. And here's how we can, pull levers here, twist knobs here to maybe change some things and adjust. But more importantly, my developers understand that, right? They also know what we spend on these products and what they can do to, be more efficient in spending.
To give credit where credit is due too, I looked up the book as we were talking. It's called Cloud FinOps, Collaborative Real-Time Cloud Financial Management by J.R. Storment and Mike Fuller. So check that out. I've been reading it. It's a really interesting book, actually. Very, very interesting perspective on how finance impacts the entirety of all departments, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You have a question too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So Jeremy and Eugene, I actually heard that Apptio supports the launch of professional services on the AWS Marketplace. Can you give us a little bit of insight into that, a little bit more details and your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think Jeremy's team actually worked on some of that. So Jeremy, maybe you've got more insight than Eugene.
So we recently launched our cost transparency product on the AWS Marketplace. This is really bridging the gap between, that total view of spend. So you have your cloud spend and cloudability, and you need to connect that to the other things that you might have on premise, and also labor costs, hardware costs, things that you may still need to maintain. And so cost transparency helps you do that. We launched on the AWS Marketplace. And as part of that, obviously to help you get up and running, we have a services team that will help you get that all connected. And so you can understand, the total cost of running the cloud as well as on-premise.
Cool. That's great. So I would be remiss if I didn't bring up, it's reInvent time. So, I've been asking all partners, right? Which of the launches have meant the most for you? Jeremy, you mentioned, EKS and ECS Anywhere already. What types of things have gotten you all excited as you've been watching?
Oh, there's been so much. So a lot of really cool, really interesting things. Stuff that's related to cost management. One that I was really excited about was the per millisecond billing now available in Lambda. Jeremy and I were both at AWS when we launched the per second billing. So for EC2, now we've gone even lower down the time measurement stack, and that's fantastic, right? That's great, especially for a service like Lambda where you are running small bits at a time. Even every millisecond counts, which is a testament to the incredible scale of AWS. But now that benefit from a cost perspective is passed down to customers, and something that Cloudability handles immediately. You can actually see your costs and how they're affected, how they're changed, and how they come in per millisecond. But that was a really exciting, really cool one.
Jeremy, anything from you?
Yeah, as I mentioned, ECS and EKS Anywhere, and I think really what it I think one of the big things was really around that hybrid infrastructure for customers who are going to need to maintain some on-premise and some in the cloud. I think it was great to see new things around Outposts. It was great to see these offerings that allow you to tie together this your on-premise workloads as well as cloud workloads, because it is a journey, right? Like I can't snap my fingers and move everything to the cloud right away, much as I might like to do so. I do have a finance team who's trying to keep costs under control, and I think being able to give them that big picture through our Cloudability and Apptio cost transparency offerings is powerful. But it's also good to see how AWS is supporting that journey from an infrastructure side, making sure that we have the tools to make that a kind of a seamless experience across both cloud and on-premise.
Thank you, Jeremy. So, we've heard quite a bit about Apptio, and I'm personally quite excited that you guys are working with us. So, where can we find you during reInvent? And for any developers that want to learn more about you, where can they get started?
Yeah, one, you can visit our booth virtually, of course, but we also have some sessions that will be available, and you can get the recordings of. I think it's MGT 281 will be the definitive guide for container cost management, Kubernetes cost management. Casey Doran is our director of product management there. So if you want to learn more about the things that Jeremy talked about from container cost management as well as optimization, that's your session. That's where you need to go. And while there are some Cloudability specific things in there, Casey's really going to talk more about general best practices, whether you use Cloudability or not, that you can leverage to make your container clusters more cost efficient. So that's what I'll call out.
Awesome.
All right, Jeremy, any shout outs for you for reInvent? Anything?
It's a big one for me. That one's one we've taken to heart this year, especially as we're moving to the cloud and managing our container costs. So I recommend checking that out, as well as if you're interested, please check out our website at cloudability.com, and there's free trials available, also via the AWS Marketplace. So I think that's a great opportunity to kind of practice and get a hands-on experience for what we're talking about here today.
It's awesome. Yeah, making it easy for people to go out and try it. That's always very helpful. So I think we got to wrap up here. We're running short on time, but I wanted to thank you both, Eugene and Jeremy, for joining us. It's been amazing. I've learned so much already about Apptio and can't wait to learn more. In fact, I think with all the money that you all will save me on my AWS bills, I'll be able to retire from Howdy Partner, I'm just kidding. I'll never leave Howdy Partner, ever. I could never. Oh, Braden's actually kind of maybe looking for me to retire. He'd like to take over. What do you think, Braden?
I think something could be arranged. AM.
Coming for
you promised us a follow-up session, though, so we're going to hold you to that, whether it's AM or AM.
There you go. You'll just have to turn off my Apptio account for a while, and then I'll, need money again and have to come back to Howdy Partners.
There you go, and then we'll be back on.
That's right. So thank you for joining us on AWS On Air version of Howdy Partner. You can catch us on Twitch as well. Usually we're on Mondays and Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Pacific, and hopefully with Apptio at some point in the future as well, on a full episode where we can see an entire demo of the product too. So we'll catch you soon. Thank you again to everybody for watching, and thank you, Jeremy, Eugene, and Braden too. Thank you for co-hosting, Braden.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we'll see you soon.
Take care.
Thanks, gentlemen.